Albanese government is urgently seeking detail on Donald Trump's latest tariff announcement threatening 200% on pharmaceuticals. That could hit our exports to the US and hurt our local manufacturers, an industry valued at around $2 billion. The move has opened the door to discussion around the PBS and whether the scheme will come up in negotiations to secure a deal. But Treasurer Jim Chalmers has promised the scheme is off the table. For their take, let's bring in Sunshine Coast Mayor Rosanna Natoli and 7 News reporter Nick McCallum. Morning to you both. Rosanna, what does the government now do to combat these tariffs?
Well, when you look at it, 200% sounds more like a sensational headline than any kind of great policy, especially when you're talking about an ally like Australia. But let's not forget too that the US government has a lot to lose by interfering with global supply chains, especially when you're talking about healthcare. That is a risk to them as well. And that is something that our PM needs to point out and hopefully forcefully to the Trump administration, if he can't get to Mr. Trump himself, that, you know, Australia is an ally and that if you do talk about those $2 billion worth of imports into the US, exports from here, that is going to have an impact on locals in the US as well.
Yeah, so Nick, this is basically payback, isn't it? The pharmaceutical companies in the US don't like the fact that they have to negotiate with our government because we have the PBS, we have cheap drugs in Australia, and they've gone to Trump and said, sort them out. How are we going to sort them out?
Well, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, President Trump, it's all part of making a deal. So a lot of this is a random throw out and then eventually he makes a deal. So that's the first point. The second point is the Americans claim the Australian PBS is market interference, which of course it's not. What it does is it ensures the Australian public, particularly the lower income Australian public, gets good, cheap medicines. So I was very pleased to hear Mr. Chalmers say yesterday the PBS will stay intact. And the third point is to note the timing. The President says all of this could happen in 18 months' time. That is when the midterm elections happen in America. And Rosanna's right. This measure, if it is implemented, will force prices up for medicines for Americans. They will be the ones to suffer. And the Republicans, Mr. Trump's own party, will not want that leading into the midterms elections. So I think there's a lot to argue. Once again, I think Mr. Albanese should seek a meeting with President Trump, rationally and respectfully point all of this out, and I'm sure it won't happen. I'm sure 200% is just a random figure he's picked out of the air.
Yeah, and I think he is seeking a meeting with Mr. Trump.
Oh, he needs it.
I think he is. Moving on, an app taken up by more than 700 restaurants in Australia is turning dining on its head, rewarding those who are happy to eat out early or late with a discounted bill. First Table gives customers a half-price food bill simply for booking the first or last tables of the night at unpopular times for some, like 5 p.m. on a Tuesday or 9 p.m. on a Saturday. Rosanna, are you a 5 p.m. or a 9 p.m. kind of gal?
Well, I guess, you know, in Queensland we might have a reputation. 5 p.m. might be the perfect time so that we can get to bed early and we rise early. But I think too, for the restaurants, you know, to have that flexibility, that's great. But it's also an affordability issue for people to be able to go out to dinner and it only cost half price. That is fantastic. But I also am very mindful that for those restaurants, that is an impact as well. So I'm sure they won't be filling the restaurant at half price and they can actually monitor how many tables because, you know, if you could afford to sell it for half price, then perhaps you would hope that they would, and so that's going to have an impact on their bottom line. And you don't want to be having dinner while they're vacuuming around you.
No, the 5 p.m. though, I mean, you used to call it grandma time. It's now my favourite time to eat. Nick, what do you think?
That's late for me. No, I think it's a perfect time, particularly for young families and older people. I also quite like the idea of the 9 p.m. on a Saturday. Now we can go out beforehand, as our sons do, and have, as they call them, prees beforehand.
Yes.
In all seriousness, I think it's a fantastic idea for the restaurants. I think it's a fantastic idea for the customers. It's inventive. Now, already a couple of people who use this app in terms of restaurant owners point out it's only 1 or 2 tables they do this to. And I understand that, but it opens the door, gets people in there, and it gets people like us to be able to have a good meal at half price. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it's very inventive. Good
order
idea.
more wine and give them a bit more money that way. Yeah,
as long as you can put your beer on it.
Afternoon tea time.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. Good idea. It's called First Table, so look it up. Thank you, guys. See you next week. Here's Sherbo.